All right, y'all. Welcome to a new episode of Society and Pop Culture 101. I am Instructor BK.
I'm Instructor JB.
And on today's show, we got special guest, our boy, our homie, the bro, Mr. 6'9", JT.
Yo, what's up? AKA your mama work friend. It's nice to be back inside the class.
That's crazy.
AKA your mama work
friend.
Out the blue, right? So you guys already know the rundown. Today we are talking about male depression. It is one of them conversations that is probably we're an underserved community in that sense. We always hear about the depression, but no one like tackles in on men, especially black men. So what I want to do is I want to start with the movie Baby Boy. Right? That's a movie we all seen, and that is a character, Jody is a character that seems to go through a lot of trauma, even though we don't see all of it. A lot of it is implied as to why he's like he is. So here's a quick rundown on Baby Boy. Baby Boy follows the story of the misguided 20-year-old Jody, played by Tyrese Gibson. It's from 2001. A man who fathered 2 kids, lives with his mother, is jobless, and blames everyone else for his life being chaotic. Through a series of events, Baby Boy was finally forced to face the reality of his life, learning what manhood is, understanding the consequences of his choices, and accepting his reality. So I always thought that was an interesting movie, but when you go back and you listen to it and we talk about it today in this day and age, it's pretty much made to be a joke, which is why I thought it was the perfect talking point for us to talk about this as a whole. Because at no point in that movie does Jody feel like the hero, right? He's just some guy who's going through some stuff, and a lot of it is played as all his fault. But is it though?
On a level, yes, it is his fault. Because like, first of all, like if you follow me on my socials, I trash Baby Boy as a movie at least once a quarter. It's almost up there with my Vegeta slander. It's just gonna happen. You're just gonna have to accept it. But my problem with
Vegeta slander though.
It still happened. You've known me for like 8 years now. The train ain't slowed down yet. But my problem with Jody as a character for Baby Boy is that the plot largely happens to him. He doesn't move the plot. And as a result of that, he doesn't even solve the problem with Rodney at the end. Like, Peanut does it for him. Like, and sure, there was like a revelation that ultimately wasn't the type of person he wanted to be, and that's cool. But even with that, like, he still got a jail out of free card with Rodney being killed because somebody else did that for him. He moved out of his mom's house into Yvette, which he should have did in the first place, which he could have done in the first place, was suggested over the course of the movie. He's still selling stolen dresses. He doesn't have like a real job per se. There's not a lot of like substantial forward movement for the story they want us to sell us. Yeah. Like, so that's my issue with Jody. Also, before we move on, $40. I had to get that
off. JT, you got anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, so just going back, because of course, like you said, the movie is played every day, syndication, BET. At some point out of a 7-day week, you're going to see Baby Boy. And Baby Boy is, it's in the black community right now as a classic movie, and also as an annoying movie because we see it too much, right? It's like, okay, you go back, you actually look at the character of Jody. And to your point, JB, a lot of the things he brought upon himself, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, the multiple baby mothers and everything like that. That's your doing. You didn't pull out. You want to stay in there. You want to go raw dog, no bun, no nothing. You know what I'm saying? So all that is particularly your fault. But at the end of the day, looking at the issues that they implied, but not so much gave a lot of backstory to, right?
Yeah.
And you look at the opening of the movie, Jody is inside of a womb being birthed, right? Babies don't have a lot of defense for themselves. Babies are, you know, in a sense, vulnerable. And I think what the director was trying to show us is that, okay, he's a vulnerable person. He's also a person who hasn't had all the tools that he needs to be, you know, nature into adulthood. Like he's had tools, but he hasn't chose to access them. But I say all this to say this. There's a lot going on with Jody underneath the surface that we really don't get the chance to look at. There's clear depression. You know, there's clear depression.
Yeah.
Even when he was running down on his mom, what you gonna send me on the streets like you did my older brother for me to get killed, get shot? That right there is clear trauma, clear depression, because he's bringing that up as of a reason for him not to go, and that depression turns into fear.
Like you said, that depression that he has and that fear turns into anxiety, and then it makes you, especially what we've been finding out here with these podcasts with Cam Newton and Dr. Bryant, is that her name?
Yeah.
With Cam Newton and Nick Cannon, those clips went viral because we are seeing men that didn't really have the tools like they thought they did. They assume that they can go out here and make these kids and make these big homes, but in reality, they didn't realize they were just making broken homes, because you can't be in the home with your kids like you should be. And that is a piece of trauma. It's something that happened to them that makes them think like, this is what I'm supposed to do as a man. I am supposed to just go out here and make kids. And as long as I do that and see them every now and then, I'm good. I feel like that's also a part of it, you know, like what in your mind made you feel like that was okay? And is that something a lot of men have going on for themselves here in our community? Like, is that the thought process a lot of us have as men? Like, as long as I'm there, whatever trauma I had doesn't matter. I'm trying to fix it with this woman and that woman. And then I'm bringing more pain and more hurt to these women. But if I give them a baby, it's all good.
And be able to provide for that baby in their cases. I'm able to financially put a roof over their head, which is a very old school, archaic way of thinking. But yes, as long as I'm able to make a baby, I give you a part of myself. I give you a roof over my head. You financially want for nothing. Like, that should be cool. But
so
as the old adage says, there's just some things money can't buy.
So how does childhood play into the adulthood like that? Like, it has to be something that maybe we were brought up seeing, like you said, you know, the old way of thinking. So that means you had to be taught that.
Yeah.
So who taught it?
It's been passed down from generation to generation from generation, right? So I'm using myself, not so much to use someone else, right? So for myself, by the time I was 3 going on 4, my parents were separated, divorced. So the only thing that I have a fond memory of is just my mom, myself, and my sister. Not saying that my dad wasn't there every other weekend to spend time with us, go to his place, and everything that comes along with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
As an adult, I'm now figuring out that, man, there's a lot of trauma there, because I could be at home chilling on a Friday, wanting to hang out with my friends, and now it's, oh, you got to go to your daddy's house. It's this weekend. Not saying that she said it like that, Mama. If you're watching, I'm not saying you said it like that, but
clear it up with moms. I feel it.
Hey, I'm clearing this up right now because I ain't, listen, Mama got a nice left foot, but looking at it now and being married and having 2 boys of my own, I am now entering a territory that I did not see as a child. Now I'm trying to enter that as an adult, right? So with me trying to enter this as an adult, all this is fresh, but I keep there's a lot of question marks. Am I doing this right? Am I being a good dad? Is this the way to do it? Was what my dad did, was that the right way to do it? And it creates a lot of question. It creates a lot of depression, because as males, we have to, well, according to society, we have to be, strong, firm. Don't show tears. Don't show weak emotion and everything like that.
Be a man about it.
Be a man about it. Suck it up.
No vulnerabilities at all.
False. But what I'm saying?
No Diddy.
No Diddy. But the thing about it is that way of thinking has always led into not being able to open up. Going back to Baby Boy, there's a scene where Baby Boy opens, where Tyrese's character opens up to Omar Gooding.
Yeah.
And I think one of his words was stop being a bitch or some shit like that, right?
Yeah. I think it was, yeah.
Okay. That's the very first thing in our community, very first thing that we say. But not being able to get out those emotions, get out those feelings, get out those thoughts, only builds upon the depression, only builds upon the trauma. So by the time you get to a place where you think you are ready to be this family man, now it's trauma here, depression here, mind wandering constantly on a swivel of, is this right? Am I doing this right? Am I being a good dad? Am I being a good husband? Am I being a good provider? Am I being a good discipliner? Should I tell my son the same thing? Like I found myself telling my oldest son, stop crying. But then it's like, sometimes daddy wants to cry. So how can I tell you not to cry?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's one of those things where we have to kind of counter program or reverse engineer everything that we were taught, because it's so instilled into us. Like it's instilled to the point that this is what your daddy was told and his daddy was told. And I'm pretty sure his daddy was told something even worse.
Yeah.
But yet we are still trying to figure this out. And be honest, I'm just throwing a number out there. I ain't got it, but I'm pretty sure it's a pretty high percentage right now of men, right now, black men, who don't know how to manage their emotions, which is why they lash out, which is why we have so many broken homes, broken families, because they were never taught that. They were never given the tools. So with them not being given those tools or being taught that, it's the same thing with financial literacy. How do you expect someone to build generational wealth if they were never taught how to build generational wealth? How do you expect someone to build a house when they were never taught how to build a foundation? Anyone
True.
anyone can go out there and get wood, lumber, cement, everything you need to build a
Brick
house.
and mortar.
Brick, water, all that stuff. But if you don't have the blueprint on how to actually build that infrastructure, it's just parts.
Mm-hmm.
So since we're on this fatherhood thing, I think I could share how I feel as a father a lot of times, because I also have the same thought process as you did with your oldest son. Um, Wildly, not so much with my daughter. So my daughter's my oldest. So when she was having her emotional moments as a kid, it was like, oh, it's okay. You know, yeah, I do you'll get over it, you get past it, you'll grow from it. I do that thing because I was also aware of trying to guide their emotions because that's our job, right? But when it came down to my son, even if I told him the right thing, I do remember having a conversation with him a few years back, and I think we've had it a couple of times since then because he was worried, going to school and how people treat people when they're emotional. I told him, hey, you'll be fine. It's okay to feel your emotions. Your emotions are valid. And I still find myself saying it to him now. But on the same flip side of that, it's like in the back of my mind, I feel like I'm telling him the wrong thing.
Mm.
So I tell him, right, you'll be fine. But I'm like, in my heart, I'm like, I should be telling you to toughen up. And it's not because I personally think he shouldn't do those things. It's because we live in a society where people will chew and spit you out if you don't know how to conform to, in some semblance, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would love for my children to just be out here in the world and be the great individuals that I know they are. But I still have an understanding somewhere in the back of my mind that society is not going to fully let them be that. So I feel like I have to protect my son by teaching him how to be a little bit more forward with his emotions. Like, hide it in public, kiddo. Don't do it in public. But when you come home and you get in this room,
let it all out.
Let it go as much as you need to.
Mm.
And even to that extent, sometimes I think that's a disservice because trying to teach them to manage that type of thing is hard work. But I also know that in the real world, when you're working, you can't show that weakness.
No.
In the business world, you can't show that weakness. And pretty much anything you do, you can't show that weakness. You have to wait till you get home to release those emotions. So I think that's a reason why we have that pass down of the, stop crying and toughen up. But no one actually explained it. And then there may have also been, Jim Crow era. We had to have this unified tough front when we was out because we couldn't, as a people, we couldn't give the racist people the ammo. We couldn't give them the satisfaction of seeing that we were hurting, that our emotions were real. And in turn, it gave us a very damaged generation, including ourselves.
I'm the only one here that's not married and without children. But I did have a father, and my father was very much a workaholic. Wasn't really around that much, and even when he wasn't there, like my father's African, and a lot of, I guess, of those values, how they deal with over there and versus how it is over here, they clash with me, and they kind of it put me in a different space because I was like a very confident kid. I was very much like front and center with a lot. Wore my emotions on my sleeve, and to a degree, I still do. I think I'm getting back to that. But there was a time where, through him being who he was, I didn't feel like I could, and eventually got to a point where it beat me down some, and I had to eternalize a lot of it, and it did result in a lot of the lashing out that you were speaking of, and a lot of the the putting things out there in unhealthy ways. And especially since, even when he was around, that's what I was getting. And there was no healthy way. And even when he was gone, it was just kind of like, okay, well, I'm the oldest child. Like, and my mom is only one person. Now I'm the man of the house. So what do I do with all this? Like, what do I do with all this?
Yeah.
And, it's tough for, a child in a broken home, or, however you want to phrase, a single parent household, how to deal with that, how to manage that. And I had to learn to navigate that in terms of, on top of everything else that had to be navigated, like driving, girlfriends, jobs, relationships, responsibilities, et cetera, et cetera. And it does create almost a constant state of anxiety, especially you have nobody looking out for you, no older male to kind of like point and say, hey, do this, hey, don't do that, or hey, go over here for this information. And you just kind of have to figure it out on your own. But like we've all like navigated. And I think part of that, as you get older, if you're in that type of space, you know better, you do better. And we live in an information age now where everything is more easily accessible, and where there's a generation that's coming up is quicker to call things out like that. And it's healthier for them. Like, it's healthier for them. I feel like, especially as we talk about more about mental health, like not just us in this video right here, but just in conversations that take place, like whether it's amongst sports or in classrooms or in social spaces. Like, these are conversations that are happening, and they need to keep happening, especially as it becomes to us, because we do have it tough, and we experience things, especially like as Black men, that most people don't get to experience. The societal pressure that we face, not just amongst other people, but amongst each other as well. Mm-hmm. We're very hard on each other, and the expectations are usually sky high, and we need to we need to show each other more grace with that. Yeah, and I think absolutely. That's a big thing, and also have some grace with ourselves.
That's a good one too, because a lot of times we don't give ourselves any grace.
Yeah, like you've known me for a long time. I am as hard on myself as anybody else, and as I've been learning and growing, and through friendships like yours, like I've been learning to be kinder to myself. So those things that I did feel anxious or depressed or inadequate about, like, are easier to cope with, instead of just looking like, oh, I'm not as good because of this. It's like, okay, well, I don't know, but it can be done. This can be achieved. This can be overcome, and I am capable.
So true. And I agree with everything you just said, because I had to be big brother myself, right? And, one of the large part of things when it comes, like, just Black man, period, us in the community, you brought up an interesting point. We are very hard on each other. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you show that you emotional, they call you a punk, they call you weak or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, that's only because that's what we've been taught. But also, that's the way of this world as well. We were just taught it in a sense of, you ain't got no choice. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like, exactly that.
Like Trick Daddy, the famous poet there from Miami-Dade County, once said, Mama ain't raised no chump. My daddy ain't raised no punk. Right. So that to me is like, the expectations are so high on us, right? Not even just within our own household, outside of the door, going to work, walking the streets, shopping. Like, we have to, in a sense, put on that mask, and everyone puts on a mask. Everyone.
Yeah.
We all wear masks, metaphorically speaking. That's what the mask.
I got that line.
but we all wear masks, metaphorically speaking. But I think as Black males, we wear our masks probably a lot longer throughout the day, depending on what your workspace is. Now, if you work in a workspace where it's majority that people that look like you probably don't have to wear that mask too much. But if you work in a workspace where you are one of a few, you're wearing that mask till you clock out. And on top of wearing that mask, you're masking your depression. You're masking your trauma. You're masking your anxiety. And the thing is, as Black males, we don't really say, "Oh man, I'm having an anxiety attack. My anxiety is through the roof," or we don't really talk about that type of stuff. We don't. And I think that we have to start as people creating that safe space. Like, I watch a show on Showtime called The Shy. And for the last 2 seasons,
show.
the brothers in the show, they will meet up at the community center and just speak about what's going on with them mentally.
I love that part. That part.
What's going on with you? Talk to me. We really don't have that now. Don't get me wrong. Like, we got homies, we got best friends. Like, I have friends that I can call and let them know what's going on with me. But those same friends that I would call and tell them what's going on with me, I wouldn't want to tell my old lady this, because I don't want her to perceive me as being weak, being this, being that, because I have to hold the front. I got to keep the mask on and show that I'm still king. I'm still the alpha male. But I've been with this girl damn near 20 years of my life plus, right? Well, no, 21 years, right? On and off.
Yeah.
Probably cried in front of her 3 times.
Oh man, we definitely had the same experience on that one, because as a husband to my beautiful wife that I love very, very much, mask off moment here. We've been having conversations here lately, just kind of impromptu, when she kind of gives me that look like, "Are you okay?" scenario. I mean, she might not say it that way, or sometimes even my kids, they always ask me, "Am I okay?" And my response is always the same. Even if my demeanor gives me away, I'm like, "No, I'm fine. I'm good. Don't worry about me." Because for one, I never feel like I do enough, right? Never feel like I do enough. So somewhere in the back of my mind, because of the way we were all brought up, I'm like, I don't deserve to be tired. I don't deserve to be hurt. I don't deserve to be able to have those emotions and allow people in to know that I have them. So I find myself, and this is me as a kid too, where as a kid I didn't know what it was. And I think now here recently I'm starting to feel like maybe it was a bit of depression. I just didn't realize it, because I will go and like my social battery would be drained is what I would say. But it was just to a point where I didn't want to talk to my parents. I didn't want to talk to my brother. I didn't want to talk to I wanted to talk to no one.
You want to be around nobody.
And I would go into my room and like at high school at this point, because I was doing it since middle school, and I'm in high school, a little bit after high school actually. And I would go into my room and I cut on my T-Pain rapper turned singer, cut on Fly Away, and I would just like sit and try to figure out why. There was never a rhyme, there was never a reason, at least I thought, why I was feeling that way. But lo and behold, here I am feeling this way. And now as an adult, I still have those same moments and those same emotions. And I don't know what the hell is going on. But I know that I feel like I can't be down. You know, I can't fall, because if I fall, everybody else goes with me. Is that necessarily true? Probably not. But as the pillar of the family, you feel like you have to be strong, like
on your shoulders,
28/7. And if you falter at any point in that, it's like I failed. And what I don't want to do is fail my family, you know? And it even comes down to friends. Like, I will listen to all my friends, all their issues, all their problems all day. But I feel like I can't, like, and it's not them, because I'm sure if I call JB or if I call Novocaine and say, hey, yo, this is what I'm going through, they'll be like, all right, we'll talk about it. But for me, it feels wrong, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't know why.
It's the point of making yourself vulnerable.
Yeah.
Of opening that space to let people in. Because when you are by yourself, that's when you have the deepest thoughts, you know, and you're able to and self-analyze yourself, right?
Yeah.
And you know, for me, like growing up, and this is just talking about dealing with depression, I hated being who I was. Tallest person in the class, tallest person every year, tallest person walking through the hallway. You taller than a teacher. It got to the point that sometimes when I walk through the hallway, people would start saying the Big Show's theme song. I got a little chuckle out of it, but inside it was killing me because I did not accept myself. I wasn't comfortable with being the biggest person. I didn't like being the biggest person. I just wanted to feel normal.
Yeah.
And it's like I've never had a normal day in my life. I don't know what it is to be normal. But I've had to, over the years, accept the fact that you are the new norm.
You are your own normal. Life is not a monolith.
Yeah. You are your own normal. And you know, it was definitely a lot to go through. And that's just one issue. Just think about all the issues that you're going to go through growing up and then going into adulthood and then trying to deal with that and trying to master that. Like you said, BK, like there's a ton of people right now who I can open up my phone right now and they can be like, oh, you always listen, but you never really talk. And it's because as a man, I feel like I got to guard this part of me because I don't want you to see me less than being a man. You know what I'm saying? Like your song was T-Pain, Fly Away. The song I played for me in my moments of just self-reflection and drowning in my own anxiety and trauma and depression makes no sense. Christina Aguilera.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it's she said something like I hurt myself by hurting you. Right?
Yeah.
But in the sense, I'm talking to myself. I hurt myself, me, by hurting you, me. How am I hurting me? By not dealing with what I'm going through.
I mean, I say that I'm proud of both of you because that's a level of self-awareness to recognize what you're doing and able to call it out. How I deal with that, because being vulnerable for us is hard. My relationship is like in its infancy compared to y'all's. We checked the calendar the other day, and it's been a little bit over a year since me and my partner first met. Not even like been together, but just met. And I'm still kind of, still navigating that space and still figuring out how vulnerable it is, because it is hard. Because, as you said, BK, like being the king of the castle, being the man, being the leader, and and trying to find that level between how much you should open up and how much you shouldn't. That's a hard one to kind of find. Me personally, I know, like, if I talk to BK, if I talk to Novocaine, or if I had talked to any of my other close friends, like, I could have that checks and balances with myself, or I can kind of just have that venting session and then be like, cool, and just keep on going. Like I can have like a little outlet session, sometimes I've had it with strangers, and just to get it off, just get it off my chest, just so I can keep it moving, just so we can, keep this thing going along. And like, I've had that conversation with my partner, because how she handles it versus how I handle it very differently. And it's just kind of like, well, we handle things differently, we move things differently. That's my process. And I think that's another, I guess the point I'm building to is just like finding your process and being okay with your process. And that's a tough thing in itself. And it doesn't have to work for anybody else. It has to be good for anybody, as long as you're doing it in a healthy way and you're able to like process it and recognize it for what it is, have that self-awareness so you can keep it pushing, then it's all good.
So true. And I'm glad that you used the word healthy process, right? Because at times we don't choose healthy process.
Mm-hmm.
The process may be alcohol. The process may be heavy drugs, pills, cocaine. You know what I'm saying? Like, fentanyl.
Put yourself in extreme danger.
Yeah.
Or it could be something that doesn't seem that way, but actually is, like just sleeping too much or eating too much. Things that we feel like that feel good, that we don't perceive as harmful, but actually is.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, like for me, a telltale sign that I'm going through something, if I pick up a lot of weight.
Mm-hmm.
If I pick up a lot of weight, or if I lose a lot of weight, I'm going. So for me, and I still deal with it today. For me to make myself feel happy, sometimes I'll just overeat. I'll overeat because, this is my comfort. This is my coping. Or starve. You know what? I don't feel right. I don't even feel right eating. So I'll miss 2 or 3 days without a meal. But eventually I'll go grab something to munch on. I'll go grab a Nutri-Grain bar or something. But I know I have to nourish myself in order to still be active, right? But the thing is, we nourish the physical, but we don't nourish the mental. We don't nourish the emotional. We don't nourish the spiritual. You know what I'm saying? Like, just like the body works, we have to be able to nourish all components. I say on my show at the closing every time, like, you could be affected by negative thoughts and vibes emotionally, spiritually, physically, and mentally. Those are the 4 components to you as a person. And we miss out on that, right? But once again, going back to depression within our communities, we look at Tyrese recently making all these appearances, and the brother is just emotional. He's an emotional guy.
Very much so.
You got people getting on him for that. You got people that feel bad, and you also got people that commend him for that. I'm one of the people that feel bad that he's going through it, but also commend him for being able to be vulnerable, letting the world see, because we don't do that. We don't.
Yeah, and that's
no.
We don't get
yeah,
to.
no,
We don't
and
get
that's why I like this moment he's in, because we get to see his divorce. We get to see how that divorce affected him. We get to see him fix his emotions. Then we get to see him become okay with his emotions. And now we get to see him show you at least as healthy as he can be right now. And to tell you that, hey, it's okay to be in tune. It's okay to cry. It's okay to be vulnerable in front of other men. If I'm putting it online, I don't care what you think. Obviously, I don't care what you think because I put it online. So I'm not saying that is a way for everybody to go through it, but that's just his way of going through and getting through, which I am totally okay with. And I dig it, because the one thing we don't do is we don't, like you said, we do not handle our depression healthy. And we don't realize that being healthy and getting healthy looks different for everybody. It's not going to be the same cut and dry path. There are different avenues you can go down. JB, you guys want to say? I seen you raise your little hand. No, I'm just kidding.
But no, there is something that both of you said I wanted to touch on. I feel like it's key for us as a black man. It's my strong hand, but finding your community is key.
Like, touche. That's a good one.
Finding your community is key. Like for example, like BK, like you are like part of my community. You're basically an extension of my family. You're my chosen family. You know what I'm saying? Like, same with Nova K. That's my chosen sister. Like, I know, like, and this is something I tell my partner all the time. It comes to like when it comes to each other and like other people, is knowing who you're dealing with.
Yeah.
And knowing who you can be vulnerable with, knowing who you can be real with, knowing who you can tell to and who you can't tell something to. Like, I know that if push comes to absolute shove, if I needed to say like the darkest, deepest, most harshest thing about myself or something I've done, said, seen, what have you, I can tell you, and that'll just be that. It'll stay right there. It'll be right there. There's no judgment and no reservations, because I know that you, as part of my community, love and cherish me as I am.
Yep.
And knowing that is a comfort in and of itself. And not everybody has that. And I don't think Tyrese has it. And that's how come we end up seeing it the way that we do.
Ooh, I think you might be right, though, because he is like a fish out of water right now. For sure.
Preach.
But like, real talk, of course, I don't know him personally. So I can't say exactly.
Hold on,
but
wait a minute. So allegedly. You don't have, we say allegedly.
Allegedly. We don't know for sure.
Tyrese, come on the show and tell us.
Please, because we don't know you for real. But I do know that him and his wife goes to one of my closest friends' church. Well, his ex-wife now. They went to that church. And between that's a marriage that's no more. We've seen him publicly fall out with his friends. Like a DJ Envy and his wife. We know how close he was to Paul Walker, and Paul's been gone for so long now.
Yeah,
that's a lot of hits on the chin.
Yeah,
and on top of it, you don't even have access to your kids like that. Like, that's allegedly. We don't know. But
I will also like to add that, and I'm sorry for cutting you off, but a lot of times is what I've been learning here recently, especially at my church, is a lot of times when we have our own walk with God, that process sometimes bring you away from people that you might be really cool with. It's because they're not on the same wavelength as you. It's not like a hate thing or I have to separate, but it's like you have to separate. And sometimes it's on purpose, and sometimes it just happens because you're just on a different walk of life, and it feels that way sometimes.
Yeah, and you can always get that back, but you do have to go through it if it's your time to go through it. And you have to trust the people around you to let that be okay. Like, you remember BK circa 2016, 2017, like what life was like for me personally. And especially when we're talking about like, old Jamestown and everything, like how certain things were moving around that time. Like I was undergoing a lot of personal changes and it affected people many different ways. But you, Novocaine, like y'all being who you are to me, like y'all gave me the space and freedom to do what I had to do, explore it, even if it wasn't the healthiest of ways. And I was able to like rein myself in. And by the end of the day, y'all were still there for me.
One is because we cool, you know what I'm saying? That's what we do with brothers. And two, and two, I recognize the process because I also had to go through that process. And I think we all do. And when you know good people and you have good people in your life, it's hard to like just let them go because they may be doing some things that you don't agree with. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure I also did some things you probably didn't agree with, but here we are still friends. And other thing, what's cool about our friendship is we have built up the cachet, so to say, to say what we need to say to each other without being offended. And going back to how depression may look, sometimes you don't have that moment with friends because you haven't had those friends long enough, or you haven't been through the process to build that love and that trust and that ability to say, JB, old girl you messing with, I don't know, bruh. She seems a little sketchy. If somebody else was to say that to you, you would probably be like, what's your ulterior motives? But because we've had so many years to build our brotherhood, is like, okay, you probably see something, or I've said something where you're concerned, and I hear your concern. I might not follow it. That's important to know. Just because you're a friend and you have advice, friends, not everybody's going to take the advice all the time. I wouldn't either. But the fact that we were able to have those conversations and make those recommendations and voice those concerns is good. And a lot of people don't have that, which sucks.
And also, to kind of add on to that, some people that may be in your circle may not have it out for you in your best interest. Some people only like you for what they can get out of you, or for what they want you to be when they want you to be it. So as soon as you step out of that line or instead of that view, regardless of what you're going through, what's happening, whatever, you become dispensable to them, or a victim of cut season. Cut season every day.
I'm gonna be honest with you guys. This is not the conversation I completely planned here, but it's a great conversation. I'm not mad at it. JT, you got anything to add?
Just piggybacking off what you were saying, JB, like, people do end up, being around you because of what they can access from you, right? It's no different than being at a job. What can I get out of this person? If you are, if you're in the position of supervisor, you're looking at, okay, how much production can I get out of this? And the thing about it is, we tend to more so look at what can I get versus what can I give, right? And it's unfortunate because it's like that's literally the way of the world. Outside of everything, everyone is, what can I get instead of what can I give, right? like you look at it like, okay, people ask this question all the time. Oh, if you hit the lottery, what's the first thing you're gonna do? Oh, I'm gonna get. What can you get?
Ooh, bar.
What can you give? Is the real question here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And going back to the original topic, when we were talking about depression, people who are depressed are constantly giving. They're constantly giving, and they're constantly giving a lot of them and not getting what they're dishing out, which also puts on the layers of depression, which also puts upon the closed offness, the I don't really want to be bothered, or, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong because you have given so much of you that you don't even feel like you can give the next person who's actually concerned anything else. You've given everything. You empty. Like Mars, he has in his bar, he says, life is like being a waiter at a diner, right? You constantly pouring into someone's glass, but who is there to refill your pitcher?
And you can't pour from an empty cup.
You can't. You can't. And unfortunately, we find ourselves there. We find ourselves there a lot. And I know for myself, I found myself there plenty of times recently. You get what I'm saying? It's like you give so much of you, but it's like, okay, if I'm giving this much of me and no one is refilling me, or no one is taking the concern to see, where am I at? Are you a quarter of a tank? Are you halfway? Are you 3/4? You know what I'm saying? Right now, there's a black male right now listening to this show, driving on an empty tank, emotionally, physically, mentally, and spiritually, and also driving on an empty tank inside their car. That's a bad combination.
It is a bad combination.
For sure.
As soon as that tank go out, that gas tank go out, that's just something else to be angry about.
It's something else to be angry about. And you are already empty. So at this point, you don't know how. You don't know how to. You don't know how to give more of yourself. And I'm sorry about the picture in the background, but
it's so random. It just randomly popped up, man.
It really did, but I think it comes like all of this when it comes to like depression, anxiety, and just with us, even as black men, it comes down to one major thing. Like, who do you feel safe with? And who's worthy of you feeling that safeness with? Because those are two different things.
Yeah.
You can feel safe with the wrong people.
So here's the rundown on depression. Anxiety and depression in men is a common thing, and effective evidence-based treatments are available to you. Anxiety and depression are mental health conditions, not weaknesses. Taking action may seem difficult, but help and support is readily available. It's important to seek support for anxiety and depression early. The sooner the better. With the right treatment, most people recover from anxiety and depression. But what are some healthy ways to address? First of all, before I even say that, we are not medical professionals, but we're just giving our opinions here. But anyway, what are some healthy ways to address your depression? Like, how do we cope?
first things first, call it out. Call it out for what it is. Like, that's the first thing. I feel like for a lot of us, like, we just kind of just walk through it and just kind of just going through it and just taking the hits on the chin and just, expecting it, whatever we're feeling, or just going to pass because that's part of just being a man or what life expects out of us. No, call out how you feel, acknowledge it, and be okay with it. And find those healthy outlets that you normally would do to make yourself take your mind off of it, whether you got to unplug or decompress, or even if to lock it further, whatever your process is, that's healthy. Like, first acknowledge what the problem is first, because you can't do nothing without that.
I would say the next thing you can do after acknowledging it is find people who are willing to help you through this process. You have to be willing to help yourself. And the first thing by helping yourself is acknowledging it. That's the first thing. Now you have to find people who are willing to walk with you during this journey. Some things are meant for you to walk through alone.
Mm-hmm.
Some things you need someone to support you while walking, because there's a lot of baggage with your depression. And as a man, once again, just want to use this analogy, we go grocery shopping, right? Mm-hmm. How many trips do you like to take to go back to the car to grab all your stuff? One trip.
I mean, I ain't trying to do that many. I mean, sometimes it happens, but I'd be mad after like if it's more than 3, it's a problem.
Oh, I didn't mean one for real. I was acknowledging Roman Reigns. Maybe about 2 trips.
Okay. And the thing about it is, why do we do that? To show that we scroll, to show that we can carry all this stuff. Oh, I do this, and I'm only speaking for me because I actually do this. We can have 30 bags that we just got from the grocery store. I'm gonna try to take at least 15, maybe even 20. I'm using this analogy because some of us are trying to walk around with 20 bags of whatever that issue may be. And you are struggling. We are struggling just to make it from the point that we're at right now to where we need to go. We struggling. But it's no problem with calling somebody, having that support system around you to say, I need help. Can you help me with this? Can you help me with some of these bags? Can you help me unload some of these groceries? These groceries being depression, anxiety, feeling alone, addiction. Can you help me unload some of this stuff? And that comes in the form of going back to what you said, JB. The person that's helped you throughout your time in your relationship is right above us on the screen. He's helped you carry some of those bags. He's helped you unload some of those groceries. And we have to have that support system. We have to have people. That's the part about opening up, which goes back to what we were saying earlier. We don't open up. Why? Because we rather try to carry everything by ourselves. Everything's not meant for you to carry by yourself. It's really not. It's not.
You gotta have that community for sure.
But being the man, you got to, right?
Mm-hmm. It's up to us to flip the script on that. Like the days that which those things were how they were done, those are over with.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we have to change that narrative. Like, a heart disease is the #1 killer of Black men. And most of it comes from stress. Most of it comes from feeling some type of way and just not acknowledge it and not dealing with it. So we have to flip that script.
So I was gonna say therapy for my answers. That's the most obvious answer. Sure. I always need the professional help. Take the stigma off of the therapy, okay? Just do it. And I'm not just talking to other people. I am also talking to myself. Because even though I did not have the stigma of therapy, I've maintained that I do not need therapy. Like I will say that till I am blue in the face. Not now, but I think I've been new. I just going back to this carrying the bag analogy. I'm just so used to carrying the bag. And even if I don't have to be in that position, that is a position I put myself in, because it's what I know. Like most of my friends groups from back in the day, even unknowingly, they didn't know that that's what they were doing. But to most people, I was the dude with all the good advice. Um, I was the listener. I can almost guarantee you that anybody that's ever called me friend in the past 30 years probably can't tell me, except for JB and Novocaine and my wife, of course, probably can't tell me anything deep about me outside of what they typically can see on your screen right now.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I can guarantee you that. And that was the type of stuff that was weighing on me in my friendship. So, you know how right around the time you turn 30, you kind of like from every feels like the big change is happening, right?
Right.
The big change that I struggled with was my friends didn't feel like friends anymore. They didn't call me, they didn't text me. Um, they were basically no different than Facebook friends. And then some kind of way I stumbled into the Jamestown group because JB invited me. And that is where I've had the most, I would say, the start of the renaissance of me finding new, more engaging friends, the ones that actually do text and call. Even JT, and we're new friends here. I mean, we've known each other for a while, but I would say we're the friendship is growing now. I probably had more contact with JT than any of my older friends, which is kind of crazy, but it's also really normal. Which I'm not saying it's not normal, but for me, it was the part of my life that I struggled with coping with the most because I was the dude where they were always at my house. When I say they were always at my house, I'm talking 30 deep in high school. And the thing that sucks about friendships, especially in high school, I'm not saying I should kept my high school friends, but I'm just saying this is what you go through when you realize that you're losing your friends that's all you've known for so long. Because we all grow apart, and I'm not saying it was like a malicious thing or a hate thing. It just was what it was. But you have to learn how to cope with that. And for me, that was the probably like the biggest thing in my life that I had to cope with originally. But then, um, but yeah, now in life, I've recently got past that for years now, but I just wanted to bring that up. But I also know that at some point that I was holding on to things that I didn't realize that I was still holding on to. And that is bad when it comes down to your mental health. And as many times as my wife said, I think you need therapy, I was like, no, I don't need therapy. But if you're listening, wife, you were right. And I'm going to go get some therapy. Only because of this conversation. I think this is like the last part of that moment that I needed to hear,
Final piece.
like the final piece of the puzzle. Because when you start thinking about things, you're like, wow, I thought I got past that, but I didn't. Wow, that
Mm-hmm.
still affected me. Wow, I thought I handled that on my own. But, I've been churching, and which is great, by the way. Church is great, but
Man.
you need both. You need church, you need all three. For me, I need an all three thing. I need the community, and I have that. I got a great family. But the one thing that I was missing, I gotta go to therapy. I don't think I'm crazy or anything like that. I want to say this because that's how people think. No one's crazy. No one's giving up. It's not a form of weakness. It's to really help you get in touch with those thoughts and emotions that you thought you could get past by yourself. But sometimes you just can't. You need like someone to help you navigate those. And it ain't always going to be a friend, and it ain't always going to be your spouse or your girlfriend, or if you're older, it ain't going to be your kids unless they are a therapist. Sometimes you need that extra. And I think I'm going to go get me some therapy.
Get someone to carry that back
from this conversation. And I'm going to open up to my homies more. So I'm going to have to get off that high horse of mine.
And it's not even a high horse.
No, that was just a joke. That was just
okay. No, but I feel you, and my brother, I definitely feel the part when you said therapy. Black men, Black community. You don't need no damn therapy.
Oh man, that's prevalent.
What you crazy or something?
We treat going to see a therapist the same way some Black men treat about going to see the doctor. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, yeah, you absolutely right. Because we don't like
with that one.
And it's like therapy is needed because we still have trauma that was passed on through us through the 400 plus years of oppression, slavery, and everything that was literally passed down through us through DNA, and actually to be birthed and then live it and still go through it. I think, and I'm going to say this, I think every Black male listening to this, go to a therapist. It doesn't make you weak. It doesn't make you less of a man. I won't look at you any different. Of course, I won't be there. But you shouldn't look at yourself less than. You should look at yourself as more than, because that is a huge step to make. Opening up and allowing someone to help you unload your baggage.
And that is the part that is hard for me, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, I think you have to understand, like, Black men watching this is that, like, no matter what society tells you, no matter what that abusive person from your past or present tells you, you are enough. You are absolutely enough for what it is you're trying to do, whatever it is you're trying to go, whatever you think you are, whatever you think you are capable of, you are enough. And going to therapy does not take away from that. It doesn't subtract from that. If you open up to the process, it will add to that.
Absolutely. All right. So final thoughts before we shut this down for the day.
First of all, like, proud of both of y'all for having the vulnerability, like, to speak out loud. Like, knowing BK for as long as I've known him, like, he's right. He doesn't like open up like that. This is the most open he's been in a minute when it comes to like his deep and personal stuff. And like JT, like, we just met. Like, we've in social circles for a while. Like, I've known of you, like, you've met my friends and whatnot. I've heard of you through the grapevine, but like, we're like very, very new to each other. And I appreciate you being able to like talk and be open and be vulnerable and like have this space where we're able to commune, like, and just be honest and vulnerable with each other.
Good.
JT.
Final thoughts, man. This was a great release therapy. I didn't realize how much I just released until it was just highlighted. Final thoughts would be, man, Black men, don't be afraid to get the help that you need. Unload that baggage. Stop riding on a quarter of a tank. Stop riding on empty. Go fill yourself up. Stay away from the things that's not going to help you. When I say not going to help you, I mean the heavy drugs that are taking people out left and right. Because after that high is gone, back to reality. Your high is only going to last but so long. Then you right back where you were at. So you got to deal with it. So I would say my final thought is to get the help, unload the baggage, fill yourself up, deal with it.
That's real.
So, for real, my final thought is, number one, go get you some therapy. Number two, man, thank you both for coming on and dropping the gems that you dropped, because like you said, JT, this is definitely felt therapeutic. Again, not the episode that I had planned out. I had my entire episode mapped out, and we took a very positive left turn. And so I love that about this. JB, my bad. I want to apologize for not being the complete friend that I could have been. I know that's weird to say, but it's true, because we have conversations all the time, and I feel like by me not giving that side of myself, is almost like not completing the friendship circle in a sense. You two know the can. I know you're not watching.
See, the thing is, as being in each part of each other's community, man, like I give you the space to open up when you're ready. You've opened up to me in the past when you needed to. We've had those talks, whether it was like 4 a.m. or 2 in the afternoon, and just had those moments where you were able to like express and all that. Like it's always in your time and it's always respected, brother. Like for real. Like you don't have to apologize for. I love you, man.
That's like a one in every 2 years type of situation.
But it does happen.
It does happen, but it's just like some to learn. But I mean, some to none. But yeah. But I definitely, again, thank you guys for coming on to the show. JB, I ain't got to thank you. You interim guest instructor, so whatever. But before we do run away, before I do close out, I want to say congratulations to Nova Kane and Kevy Kev. The sis had the baby.
Yes.
It came a lot sooner than we were expecting, but kind of not, but kind of did. Because as soon as she dropped the announcement, it was like, and we're on our way. So
baby.
So we're excited for
congratulations.
Dude, you're a mom now.
What?
Mama Nova.
Y'all have no idea how weird that sounds coming. Mama Nova came up in here. What? We're proud. We're happy. I seen baby photos. The kid is adorable.
That is a twin.
Fact. To both parents, which is crazy.
Right. Like both their genes are fighting for supremacy right now.
I can't wait. I got 1 year out at this point because I don't know. I've been calling the kid Nova like this whole time, and we might have to come up with a new nickname now.
Nova Kev.
Yeah.
Evacane? I don't know. I'll work on it.
We workshop it. But anyway, thank y'all for listening. This is a great episode. Do me a favor, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. If you're listening on Good Pods, pretty soon they're gonna be doing a new system over there. So we're gonna need you guys to like and comment as much as possible so we can continue our rise of dominance in the space that we have been doing extremely well in. And I think JB may be broken.
Also, I'm thinking I'm working this out.
Also, I want to just point out that the bro show that we just had today was full of initials, BK, JT, and JB. Wow. What else am I missing? I feel like Novocaine does something that I am not doing right now. And she's going to listen to this episode. And when she gets back, she's going to be like, you are terrible at this, which is true. But we love y'all. Thank y'all for listening. I am Instructor BK.
I'm Instructor JB.
And I am your mama work husband, JT.
Yo.
That is such a wild thing to say.
Listen, thank y'all for listening. We out. Yo, mama's.
It's like, what am I supposed to do with that? Like, are you a friend? Like, what are you trying to say? What are you doing?
Society and Pop Culture 101 is a Culture Clash Network podcast. If you're interested in podcasts just like Society and Pop Culture 101, make sure to check out a podcast from our network. We got JB versus the World, Get Your Podcast, Marks with Mics, Powerbomb Jitsu, and The Humble Roses. We got what you need, so keep it locked. This is CCN. Thanks for listening.